Hello, everyone. Thank you for tuning in this week to Full Timeout. I'm your host, Ari Bruckman, and joining us today is a very special guest. From 1987 to 1991, he was a power forward for the Northern Illinois men's basketball program, where he finished third all-time in scoring, and over those 4 seasons, he led his team in rebounding. He was a part of the 1991 regular season conference championship Husky team that reached the NCAA tournament for just the second time in program history. He then went on to play for FIBA in Europe for 12 seasons professionally before retiring and pursuing a coaching career in youth basketball. I have been fortunate enough to work with him growing up and now once again sit down with him today. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Mr. Donnell Thomas. Donnell, how are we?
Ari, my friend, how are you?
I'm doing well. Thank you.
Thank you so much for talking to me and taking the time to reach out. I hope you and your family are doing well, my friend.
Absolutely. Same to you. Thank you. So, Donnell, talk to us a little bit about, growing up in Chicago, being a kid, being an athlete. Who were some of the players that you looked up to kind of emulate your game after that inspired you to really push yourself?
Yeah, growing up on the south side of Chicago, I'm actually from the Inglewood area in Chicago, and I went to Paul Robeson High School. And some of the teams that were in our conference were like a King High School, a Simeon High School, big-time programs.
Right.
So some of the players I was lucky enough to play against in high school were like a Marcus Liberty, a Nick Anderson, a Jamie Brandon. Those were the type of competition that we had back in the Red Central Division back in high school days. And a lot of those guys went on to play professionally overseas and in the NBA for a while. So it was some good competition growing up in the area.
Absolutely. Starting with your time kind of progressing over to NIU, how did you ultimately make that decision playing at Robeson and kind of fielding yourself out there for college offers?
Hey, that's a great question, Harvey. Actually, my high school coach, a guy named Coach Collins, was my coach at Robeson, and then he was fortunate enough to get a first assistant coaching job at Northern Illinois University.
Okay.
And he was a mentor, a father figure, a friend of the family, and I trusted him, so that kind of made my decision easier to go attend the Huskies.
So you move over to NIU. At the time, maybe the program first 2 seasons wasn't the best at the time. It was 19-37, but you were still doing your thing, and then things really turned around. I mean, Jim Molinari came in, took over, and really changed the culture of the program. Can you talk a little bit about what he did that made players buy in so quickly?
Absolutely. Jim Molinari, a lot of the things that he taught us back when I was playing at Northern are some of the things I implement in my speeches and practices and things now. Very disciplinarian, very strict, but a very good guy, good coach. And he just came in, and he was coming from DePaul, where he was working on I think the coach was Joey Meyer at the time.
Okay.
So he came in from DePaul and, was a good local guy, great coach. And, by the time he came to the program, though, we were already going into our junior year, so we were ready to hit it and run it anyway. But we were ready anyway. And then, combining what he brought to the table with us and for the program, it was just a perfect storm ready to happen.
And you guys went on to really make an impact almost immediately. I mean, in his second season, you guys finished 25-6, 14-2 in conference. That ended up being his final season there, but can you talk a little bit about the imprint he made on the program in his 2 seasons there?
He made a good imprint on the program. He came in with a team, like I said, we were ready. We had been coached by Jim Rosborough, who went on to be assistant at Arizona. He had kind of molded us and changed our mindset. And then Coach Molinari came in with added a little bit, as we say now. He tweaked it a little bit.
Okay.
And put all the pieces in the right place.
Sure.
And then we went on to have 2 great years under him. We made it to the tournament. We got beat by St. John's in the first round, but just the overall experience that what he taught us as young men and basketball players, it was a win-win combination.
Can you talk to us a little bit about how your time at NIU, playing for both those coaches, and just your overall development prepared you to play professionally?
Yeah, I've always been, in high school and for the most of my career at Northern, I was pretty much a undersized power forward. So I would play, 16, 17 feet within the basket. So I watched guys like Adrian Dantley or Charles Barkley, those undersized guys, and they worked between 15, 16 feet from the basket. As I began to play overseas, they allowed me some freedom, and I put some time in the lab and worked on my game a lot and developed my outside game. So that's why I was lucky enough to expand my career over 12 years. Right. Practice in the lab and constantly trying to get better from year to year.
And so that time that you spent overseas, did you feel yourself having to adapt to a different game?
Not much so, other than the technical rules where they made, back in my day, they had a 30-second shot clock. Lanes were a little wider. But you had some great players over there and some of the great national players as well. I mean, it was some great basketball over there. I was labeled as the foreigner, or the American is what they call you when you play over there.
Okay.
So the American has a lot of pressure to come over and really, with some freedom, show what you can really do.
Sure. Interesting. That's really interesting. I never heard that before, but definitely unique. How did, playing collegiately and professionally then kind of garner your interest in coaching?
I kind of never went into it looking to be a youth coach, but every time I would get in front of kids and teach about life and sportsmanship and basketball, a lot of people would come to me and say, "Sir or Coach, you have a gift. You seem like you are natural in front of the kids."
Sure.
And so, taking my knowledge and experience from basketball,
mm-hmm.
and then just some of my natural charm and charisma,
mm-hmm.
and wanting to teach the kids and help the kids to be the best that they can be.
Yep.
Again, it's a perfect mix.
Sure.
And I really enjoy teaching the kids the game of basketball and how to be good citizens and good people. And we learn some basketball along the way. I really enjoy doing that.
So can you talk a little bit about your philosophy in terms of, your approach as a coach, and maybe if that differs or how that differs from you as a player, just from knowing you encourage, teach, challenge? That's something you kind of pride yourself on, but can you talk a little bit more about what that means?
Yeah, so with my company, a basketball experience, I pride myself on those three words that you mentioned: encourage, teach, challenge. So if we look at the word encourage, dealing with youth, encouragement is key.
Mm-hmm.
I want to build a winning philosophy, a winning attitude, a winning approach. So no matter what happens, I'm still encouraging.
Sure.
And then I want to teach the game of basketball. Hey, this is how you make your layup. Get your eyes up when you dribble. Have some fun. Trust the process. All of these things. And then the final word, challenge. I'm just going to challenge you to be a better young man, a better young lady, a better athlete, a better person. So just combining those three words together, and the kids that's really having fun. One thing I always say, Ari, I don't like the word loser. Either we win the game or we don't win the game. But as long as you play hard, have fun, enjoy your friends, you're going to be a winner no matter what.
Who inspired you to kind of have that approach? Like, where did you get that kind of focus and that insight to really lead? Because, growing up, having had the chance to play for you, I know maybe people watching this haven't had that chance. But you really kept us disciplined. That was something that you instilled and over and over and over again. And that was really helpful just in development overall.
One thing I always take to my coaching position is when I'm dealing with youth or players, I try to emulate things that I think their mom or dad might want a coach figure to say to them about being respectful, about having fun, respecting your peers, etc. Because basketball is one of those platforms where you can bring all people together to achieve a certain goal. Doesn't matter where you're from or what you like, what you dislike. We're all on this court together fighting for the same achievement, which is one of the good things about basketball.
There's definitely been a lot of talk in recent years about AAU basketball, the kind of impact it's had. I know some athletes have decided to kind of weigh in on that. One of those being, he should rest in peace, but Kobe Bryant back in 2015 came out and said it's stupid, and talked about how some of the bigger guys when you're younger, they're bringing up the basketball, they're kind of doing some crazy things, not developing that post presence or what it's like to be a big man. How have you kind of taken your philosophies that you've learned as a player and focused on the kind of impact you want to have on AAU basketball?
Yeah, so being out there on the circuit with AAU basketball, there are a lot of good coaches out there. There's some great programs out there. And, of course, all the kids want to learn the correct way. But being a former player, I kind of look at the game through a different lens.
Mm-hmm.
I'm watching everything on the court, how the kids conduct themselves and their skill set and their attitude. And I saw some space for a guy like me to come back and give back in that aspect. Not saying no one was doing anything wrong, but as we said earlier, I just thought I would come in and tweak it with my mindset on what I've been taught and what I've learned to help the kids play on that AAU level. AAU is fast-paced. They've changed the game. The game has changed over the lot since you were playing. And, of course, when I was playing, the game has changed.
Sure. And I was just about to ask you, how has that evolution of Steph Curry, the three-point shot, and kind of all these kids are seeing that on TV and probably are looking to emulate that. How has that changed the way maybe you kind of teach them about what's a good shot, what's a bad shot, just those little things?
So I take the old school mentality that I have, that you got to have some big guys around the basket to rebound and play physical on the inside. But in today's game, on the offensive end, the big man is at least required to be able to shoot the open shot.
Mm-hmm.
And so in teaching the youth now, I make sure everybody can dribble, make sure everybody has confidence dribbling. I make sure every position is able to shoot the open shot or have the correct knowledge of it. So I'm taking the old school mentality of you got to be strong around the basket on the inside, but tweaking it with the way the game has changed because of Steph Curry, James Harden. You got to be able to teach some of the new with the old, and that's how we get where we are.
You know, it was pretty funny, Donnell. I don't know if you had a chance to see the Houston Rockets this season, but they got to a point where they actually dished off Clint Capella, who was their starting center. Kind of went with a 5-guard set, if you will. I think they had Robert Covington playing power forward, a small guy. He was 6'7", but he's not built to play that position, and they just kind of was really changing the way basketball was played. Are you for or against that kind of philosophy? I mean, is that where basketball is headed?
Well, you know, on one hand, we have to respect that things are evolving, the game is changing, the athletes are more well-equipped to do different things.
Mm-hmm.
And so if an athlete wants to keep up and be a part of that change, they have to equip themselves to do those things. So
Sure.
Therefore, we have a Giannis who's 6'11", but he can do everything on the court.
Right.
You have another big guy, Jokic. These bigger guys are more well-equipped, and their skill set is that of everybody else.
Right.
The Houston Rockets, to answer your question, spreading the floor out, they're going to make those guys come out there and play something on the defensive end, which is tough for those big guys. So I like that. I like.
So you like that element. You like that
change.
change.
Floor. I like the spreading of the floor. Open it up. Let's see some skill. Let's see some one-on-one. Let's see some shooting.
Okay.
I like that. I like that development there. Yes.
Cool. I mean, I think that's definitely changed the game a little bit, and we'll kind of see how players tend to gear their game towards as they hit the high school level and move forward here. But talk to me about the kind of impact you want to have on the game when everything's said and done, and you decide, I'm going to coach from the sidelines now, right? As my dad used to do probably.
Yeah.
When you finally get to that point, you know, what do you want people to remember about your impact that you had?
My legacy, coaching basketball with the youth. That's a great question.
Yep.
Want them to have fun. Want them to see how they can use basketball to bring all people together. Basketball is a universal stage. We all come together. We fight for a common goal. We up, we down, we're together. And that's something that I want them to remember even when they're not playing basketball. I always teach that you're a person first, you're a basketball player second. So my biggest thing is to make sure they always feel respected no matter what their age are. Relate to them, make them feel comfortable, make them feel respectable. And if I can always get them at that early age, just remember me as a coach who tried to coach and teach at an early age to make better youth, teenager, adults moving down the line of life. Try to get them at an early age and put that good foundation in.
I love that philosophy, Coach, and frankly, I mean, you know, you kind of touched on it, but that's really big, right? Sports bring us together, and so when you talk about development, it doesn't matter where you come from. It's all about people showing up to play, sharing that common goal. And I talked about this with people, and it's never going to be the same. Scott Van Pelt talked about it on SportsCenter, but somebody who has played sports, been in the locker room, had teammates, had that common goal, it's different, I think, for people who haven't. And it's like, man, I really wish they've had that chance to be a part of that, because it's being a part of something bigger than yourself. I think that's really rewarding. That's awesome, Coach. I appreciate your time. Thank you again for everything, and I wish you the best. It was great to hear from you.
Ari, great to see you. I'm happy for you. All the best to the family, my friend. Yes.
Thank you so much, Coach. Take care.
Yes, sir.